see how it goes. Yes,
Question, what is that?
this one.
The fluffy ball.
Yeah, this is a wind protection.
Wind protection.
Yeah, for microphones. Look like a mouse.
Yeah. Thanks. Cool.
Yeah, welcome.
Using tools. For example, you see as well in the jars of storing what they had harvested. And in this time also you're beginning to see the imagery of the human form. One of the oldest trees that's really good.
这看着感觉比中国人差远了。这个。
There was a theme that we see going through Islamic, Buddhist, and Christian religion, which was the theme of light. Over here are wonderful representations of just that. We have the mosque light here from the Mamluk period, used to light up the mosque. We have the Buddha, with the glimmering gold light. And then we have the stained glass window of a cathedral. So there was a real focus and theme of light going on in all three religions at this time. And throughout this gallery, you'll see that now the realistic representations we might have seen in other chapters have disappeared. It is now really about symbols. And religion becomes art, and art really becomes religion. We're going to head to the sacred text room. Okay, so now we're in chapter 5, and this is where we see a lot of trade happening. So with the universal religion, a lot of travel was happening, of course, to spread the religions, and pilgrimage continued, but this was more or less about trade and of materials. So this was starting to spread due to the religion spreading. And this is where the Silk Route was born, connecting China to the parts of the world we've been seeing earlier. With that came a lot of new materials and trade of ivory, porcelain, metal, ceramics, incense, and still religion and textiles. So this best way to see this room really is to go through it, the entire room, notice the different materials here, and the fact that a lot of Chinese and Asian influence is included. And then I can meet you at the end of it, where I'll go to my favorite room, the cosmography room. The importance of this painting really was in the use of the light and shadow. This all came from the theory of optics by father of optics, Ibn Battuta. So his book of discovery of projection of shapes and objects in dark room led to a lot of artists using dark and light colors to change 2D elements into 3D elements. His book of theories is also found here at the museum behind you. So he was an Islamic scientist, and his work really influenced geometry. As you can see over here, a lot of the geometric patterns that were simple before were becoming more and more complicated due to the symmetry and placing shapes together to make new shapes. In art, however, in painting here, Europeans took this theory and changed it into the use of light and shadow and perspective that we hadn't seen before. Here you can see a lot of depth due to the use of colors, and for the first time Leonardo da Vinci actually took a risk in not having the portrait face the audience but the contact to the side, which was actually a great success in the European market right away. Now this woman is also a mystery woman. We do not know her identity. Féoné refers to the necklace on her head. Some say it's a mistress, some say it's a neighbor. So there are theories. Really wanted to glorify themselves through painting. So they commissioned artists to come and paint them in the best way possible. This was common throughout the world, so it wasn't just in one place. And again, this is the importance of placing objects together in the same room. We have the East over here. We have Africa over here with the Oba head, which was the ceremonial head of a previous ruler that would be celebrated and glorified, and then no one did it better than King Louis. So here we have King Louis. We're lucky to have horses of the sun straight from Versailles, and this is an original. And later on, I really suggest you see the Good Samaritan over there, which is a wonderful painting. It's a type of painting called Baroque painting, which was taken from the churches at this time in order to push values and messages of goodness and kindness, to display all their glory and all their embellishments. We have a couple here playing chess, for example, a couple on the other side, who's a man carrying a billiard stick to show that billiards in his home. And then, with all this glory and just focusing on what they have, the Enlightenment period really was born. And these sculptures are based on a myth from the Enlightenment period. And the story goes that these are two boxers who were fighting for hours and hours with no winner in sight. So the judge decided that each would have one last punch to end the game. This one over here used a club and struck the other with it. And of course that is considered cheating in boxing, as you can only use your hand. So the judge declared him the winner, and there was really an uproar at this time. How can a dead person win a competition? But it was really these values and messages they wanted to push through to society at this time. Now we have things like YouTube or ads to do this. Back then, it was creating sculptures to really push these messages through to the people. And with that, the idea of the hero group. So there was a lot of focus on heroism, the paintings moving forward. You see that we haven't really viewed paintings like this before in previous chapters. The use of brushstrokes like this is very new. The fact that there's 3 layers, the boy in the background of the waterfall, the children wrestling in the middle and the clothes pile in the front. And most of all, Paul Gauguin experimented with proportionality. So you can see that the children are not very proportional, their feet much larger than their bodies. Actually, Paul Gauguin was friends with Van Gogh at this time and had sent him a letter of the painting asking him if this would do well in the market. And lucky for us, Van Gogh approved it. And we have here Children Wrestling by Paul Gauguin. Again, influenced very much from Japan. And we have just near it, Japanese prints of nature. And I know you're all wanting to see Van Gogh as well. So we have Van Gogh's self-portrait here at the museum.
To represent religion practices and beliefs. So at this period of time, around 2,000 years ago, when all religions spread all around the world, you will see in this chapter different representations and symbols of religion practices and beliefs. For example, we have, of course, different religions, but through the different religions, there are some shared concepts and themes. The importance of light, if you can see here, is being presented in Christianity through the stained glass windows in churches. On the other hand, in Islam, it is represented by mosque lamps. And also here we see probably the use of gold as a reference for light. So there are some shared themes in different religions, and also you will see different themes over here and symbols. Textiles and fabrics as well. And this small room, I will suggest if you can also come to it later, it shows us the artworks from America that happened at this time, and why it is kept separated, because at this period of time it was really isolated from the rest of the world, and later on it was discovered and there was an art movement taking place. So the lion bracelet, it is from Iran. What can tell you that it's a representation of power, not only the use of gold as it is a symbol for eternity maybe, as the gold does not vanish, it's a symbol of eternity, but also the lions used to be symbols of power. So this bracelet weighs 300 grams, so definitely not like this bracelet, so it's worn by men, not women. And there's another pair, identical pair, only in the world, which is now in the Archaeological Museum in Tehran in Iran. So this is one and the other one is there. To represent religion practices and beliefs. So at this period of time, around 2,000 years ago, when all religions spread all around the world, you will see in this chapter different representations and symbols of religion practices and beliefs. For example, we have, of course, different religions, but through the different religions, there are some shared concepts and themes. The importance of light, if you can see here, is being presented in Christianity through the stained glass windows in churches. On the other hand, in Islam, it is represented by mosque lamps. And also here we see probably the use of gold as a reference for light. So there are some shared themes in different religions, and also you will see different themes over here and symbols. Textiles and fabrics as well. And this small room, I will suggest if you can also come to it later, it shows us the artworks from America that happened at this time, and why it is kept separated, because at this period of time it was really isolated from the rest of the world, and later on it was discovered and there was an art movement taking place. So it's one of my favorites actually, as those travels have taken place and trades. Here, this room has three main themes. The first one being sciences, as the sciences have started to develop and people discovered that the Earth is round, and they know that they actually can travel and come back. So being them traveling around the world, they started drawing the maps. And of course, traveling, drawing maps, going from here and there, there is a third theme which is called wonder cabinets. Wonder cabinets represents the tools. Maybe some of us would like to collect different objects, maybe weird objects sometimes to us, I am one of those people. So people at the time used to collect objects that are coming from different parts of the world and keep them in one room, and it is called the Wonder Cabinet. So this is a representation of travel. This screen shows when Japan opened its doors to the world. So it depicts Portuguese when they arrived to Japan for trade. So Japanese depicted those Portuguese people. After the theory of optics have been discovered by Ibn al-Haytham, here, for example, in the Islamic world, the influence of this theory have been by creating more. The frame is like part of a window, maybe, just to give it more. We feel like she's looking at us through behind a window, maybe, and the use of the black in the background also. And the same theme, we'll see different but quick ones, different films. So I would suggest if you can come and watch them. In a different way. Art is not anymore a tool of like the hand and the brush to create the artworks, but different ways of creating art is happening during the 20th century. For example, in this painting, the artist is Japanese, and let's compare them together. This is from France, and this being from Japan. The artist created kind of a performance art, not just a painting, because the artist here hung himself from the ceiling, and he placed the canvas on the floor, and he painted actually with his feet, with different movements. On the other hand, here this artist he applied the color on the body of the females and males, and he imprinted on the canvas. And in this specific painting, it's the representation of him and his wife. So, and all his artworks, and he usually dragged the naked bodies, and he applied them on the canvases to create the artworks. So art is no longer a painting and a brush only, but they have the freedom to represent and express their thoughts in the artworks. One humanity, we are one story, we share the same story, and we came from the same history. So I hope that you enjoyed this tour, and I would like to invite you please to take your time and go back to the chapters and discover the art pieces in more details. Thank you so much for staying with the tour, and it was my pleasure being with you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
tradition and a new tradition. That's the beauty of contemporary traditional mix. So the next song is actually on the theme. It's called Go in Search of Sunrise. And it says, build your own tradition, be yourself your own sunrise, on the roots you have built. So this was the same song.
Yeah.